What's up, guys? It's Justin Khan, and this is Fractal Radio, our video podcast with people who are building in the blockchain gaming space, trying to find out the stories behind all the cool projects we're seeing. And today, I'm really excited about having Ben and Lewis on from SolChicks, which is, I think, one of the biggest games, if not the biggest game on Solana blockchain. Is that right?
Yeah, really appreciate coming on with you, Justin. Yeah, I mean, like I'd say, like by social following and how big we've grown the community, we're right up there and kind of number one. And you know, we've got big plans, so we're aiming to grow it a lot further from here too.
So tell me the story behind. Well, first off, actually, I should say that Ben is an anime character because he's not doxed. So I told him you can still do the podcast, just find a face filter, and I'm loving how this turned out. You look good.
Perfect. Yeah, it was great. And thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So tell me the story behind SolChicks. I gotta admit, when I first heard of SolChicks, I was like, is this a joke or is it a real game? Or because it's but it's like it's a game, and like tell me the story of like how did you come up with the idea? How did you come together to build it?
Yeah, it's funny, right? So the SolChicks themselves are they're quite funny. They're like these cute but fierce characters. It's not really what you'd expect for the type of game that we're building. So and Ben can talk a bit about the game itself, but it's kind of like RPG style, kind of references to like Diablo 2, League of Legends, etc. But really, you're probably not the characters that you'd expect. We wanted something approachable and with broad appeal, and we wanted to have a bit of fun with it as well. And so the NFTs themselves are these cute little chickens. It's kind of goes a little bit with some of the kind of NFT themes around different animals, and we're kind of thinking, well, what hasn't been done? Like what can we do that's new? There's maybe a little bit of a Chocobo Final Fantasy reference in there as well, and we had a lot of fun with the concept around that. But then the game itself, the building is, it's not too serious, but it's a serious game, and so we're looking at different ways to kind of marry in the two aspects of that and have a game that's it's a lot of fun. But also has that depth and richness that you'd expect from like a traditional quality game.
I love that. It's not like apes. There's too many apes. It's not, It's not goats. You got chicks.
Yeah, we didn't want to be another ape project. I think there's probably enough of them around.
You guys made me a SolChick, minted me one, and I'll flash it up here. It's amazing. I'm very happy with it. So thank you.
Yeah, it was really cool when we first got in touch and we found out that you actually already owned one of the original SolChick collection as well, and that you'd been hanging out in our Discord. I think the rest of the community would be like taking a closer look at some of the Discord chats and be like, who else is just sitting in amongst us in the midst, right? You never know. You never know
who's lurking in the community,
Yeah, well, exactly.
When I first started diving into the space, I was like, okay, who's making games? And then I heard about SolChicks and I was like, wait, is that real? And then you have 250,000 in the Discord, or is that more than that?
Yeah, we're at the moment we're capped at 250K. We need
that's
like
the server
a special
cap, right?
Discord approval to go higher. But we're having issues with the server ownership permissions and getting in touch with the Discord guys. So at the moment we're like manually booting out, like trying to find bots and boot them out and pruning the server so that there's enough room for the new guys to come in. Hopefully we can uncap that. I think the Axie Infinity server is around 800K or so, which is again I think a Discord imposed limit. Hard cap. Yeah.
I think you have to have permission to go above 250, and then 800 is like they can't figure it out. Awesome. So tell me about like the game itself, or like actually let's talk about the community first. Like, how did you guys launched in September, right? So it's pretty new. How did you build a community up so fast? Like, how are you thinking about community inside a game? I think that's one of the parts about blockchain gaming that I'm really excited about. That's really different from traditional gaming. Is like traditionally with gaming, you like build a game, right, and then you have this community. Maybe you release an alpha, then you start building your community. But like I feel like with kind of blockchain game development, people are like developing concurrently with building a community, and it's a lot more exciting in a lot of ways. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the beautiful thing about crypto is that it is this kind of massive community of early adopters, right? Like I think everyone in crypto now is still early, right? And so
Yeah.
you've got these people who are just naturally drawn to new things and trying to work out what's going to be successful and where something exciting is happening. And so it allows you to do these things, right, where you create a community, you create this big movement around a product that is yet to be delivered, right? And people are very receptive to that. Obviously, like people are filtering for quality and they're looking for, all the right things. But at the same time, you couldn't. It's very difficult, I think, to launch a new traditional AAA game, right, and have a massive community, like a brand new title, and have a whole bunch of people already kind of waiting their day one for it. And unless you're coming from these incumbent brands, so. Like NFTs in a way are kind of like Kickstarter on steroids, right?
Yeah.
It allows you to launch a product and get that initial funding to get things off the ground, and then you just build momentum from there. And so, in the early days, I think like even in a Solana context and a Solana NFT context, we were relatively early in terms of that too. And so, we were able to bring in a lot of people who are hanging out on other discords and looking at other projects and bring them on board. We got a lot of our initial community as well from people who were Axie Infinity, like either players or managers, and so some of the people who are now part of our core team were from the community and coming from that background. So these people who understand play to earn and get the concept and are looking for new projects that have that same potential to be. I mean, like for us, it's not about being the next Axie Infinity. It's taking things the step beyond that to being that crossover success in the traditional gaming world and to bring people into the movement around play to earn.
So I have so many questions about that too. Like, let's talk about the game itself first for a little bit. Like, how do you think about? So when you launched, it was just selling the NFTs that would be usable as characters in the game at first, right? And then you've been developing the game and a demo behind, concurrently, right? Is that correct? And like,
yeah,
tell me,
right.
Tell me like what are the steps needed to like get the game out, and maybe a little bit more about like the type of game that you're building.
Yeah, I can probably do that. I think for us, when we sort of thought of how this game conceptualized it, we sort of looked at what was already successful, and sort of then said, hey, how could we build upon that success and sort of add the blockchain element. So it's not about building something entirely unique or new, because the blockchain element already does that. And sort of just not inventing any new gameplay loops, right? And sort of taking that existing thing and sort of adding the blockchain. And when we sort of thought of it, we initially thought of it as more like a Diablo style sort of real time fun, fun at its core kind of game, where sort of the blockchain doesn't have that as from our sort of point of view. Like for example, Axie and some of these games, they are, very very unique and so on, but they're, honestly, in my opinion, not extremely fun. So it's more of a grind and a play to earn. We want to make it more like a play and earn game, where players first want to play the game, and then earning is obviously an important element as well.
Dude, I love that. I think that's so important because the way I think about it is like the thing that's going to be crossover that's going to get activated a ton of users is it's got to be a fun game. I think adding the economic element and making the economic element is more formalized in the game is really important and empowering. Like I put this in the blog post about Fractal, but I used to like grind, World of Warcraft and like buy gold and stuff and sell gold because it was like, that was like an icing on top. I like fundamentally like the game, and then there was this like economic component, and I think we can move more towards having economic components, but fundamentally it has to be a fun game. Otherwise people aren't going to want to stick around in it.
Correct. And then from our perspective, how we're working, because a lot of the core team, especially the Lewis and I, we don't have sort of development technical backgrounds, but then we're working sort of very closely with Zero X Play, who has a lot of these technical expertise, and sort of we're sort of developing this whole game in phases. I think we identified 4 key phases where we sort of build out the true MVP kind of, with a lot more of the systems and so on that is in place. Targeted first quarter April next year, and then we sort of roll out sort of more of the more detailed stuff and the blockchain stuff as we go on in the next year.
So what's that first phase going to be like? What's the first release that you're targeting in April?
We're sort of thinking like it as a closed alpha, so even before a closed beta, because it's kind of funny if you think about it. The blockchain sort of reverses the whole sort of a development cycle for a game. Like for a traditional game, you sort of think about it as an E3 BlizzCon, that kind of release, 10-minute, almost like fully playable demo, super cool. But then for us, we're like, okay, we have a concept, and then we have a whole community waiting for it, right? So once in a while, back in the days, you have people searching for trademarks. Say, oh, Chrono Break has been trademarked. Is a Chrono Cross, third release coming up, and so on. But then now we have to work. I think pressure in terms of timing, in terms of the content, and also in terms of the sort of stability. So I think in terms of the first step, where we're sort of releasing something that is more like a closed alpha, which is more like having all the equipment systems in place, the training system in place, having sort of the basic Soul Village sort of in 2D, sort of giving people a concept of what the game would be like in a basic sort of battle system, which we are still trying to define in more sort of concrete terms, because we understand that for a blockchain game, the audience may not be the typical sort of audience where some of them just want to play to earn. So we're trying to simplify the thinking behind some of these things, and the simplification process is actually quite a lot more difficult than sort of the adding on process. That's what we're finding here.
Yeah, that's always true of games, right? And software is like you want to make it as simple as possible and for users. So I heard the rumor that you guys, after successfully launching your the kind of characters in an NFT form, you ended up buying a game studio or partnering with a game studio, like a full-on team that has gaming experience to like build and bring the game to market. Is there any credence to that?
So it's a funny story, right? So when we started, like, a lot of, our founding core team are not technical game developers by background. And we're quite open about that. And so we were trying to hire, these very like individual senior guys from top game dev studios to kind of head things up and build a team around them. And we were getting good traction, but we saw that it was going to be a slow process, right, to bring these guys on and hire a team around them and then get them up to speed. And like, a big part of our strategy is around speed to market. We see the space as currently there's like very little in the way of live, fully playable games today that have that traditional entertainment value that you can, go and play and earn with. So for us, it's around delivering something, shipping quickly so that give the people what they want, right? People just want to play games, have fun, and have that blockchain element. So we were very lucky. One of our early investors introduced us to Zero X Play, who are kind of like this boutique studio. And we've basically brought them into our team in the sense that they're working for us, full-time exclusively, plus are being compensated with Chicks tokens. So they are fully aligned with us, and are in essence are just fully integrated into our team in that sense. It's kind of one team, one dream, and they kind of fully understand what we're building together, and so that we're basically allowed us to bring on this group of 15 to 20 top tier game devs who had all worked together, could basically hit the ground running. And so this is why we were able to deliver a demo with them very, very quickly, because they know what they're doing, and we basically we're plug and play with them.
Amazing. That's it's interesting it's kind of like you said earlier, it's Kickstarter on steroids, right? You can get a community excited about a concept and an idea, fund it, have it like crowd funded effectively by people who are interested in that concept, and then even hire a team to implement it. Like it's it's a new capital market in a way that's to build your vision.
It's like a little bit in reverse, but we kind of see it as like bringing together the best of both worlds, right? Like we've got a really, really strong kind of core team on the business side of things who can focus on like the operational day to day and doing things really well there. And then we've got a group of game devs who are very well aligned, who can focus on what they do best, which is the game development side. Whereas you see some projects that are kind of led by game devs, and it means that probably the best devs are not able to spend as much of their time on the actual dev side, or don't necessarily have the same kind of business and marketing focus to get things off the ground, right? Like you see sometimes these like really great products that just don't have the success that they should have because they were never quite brought to market in the right way.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how do you envision the economics working in the game? One of the things you talked about earlier was like evolving beyond where like Axie is or existing play to earn. Like how do you think that's going to work? How's the Chicks token going to work?
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. Axie got a lot of these things right. And what we're doing is not trying to fundamentally change, what they have got right, but we're trying to just basically, improve on what they have and sort of take that to the next level, right? We also have two sort of tokens, right? One of them being the Chicks token, the governance token with a fixed supply. And that we sort of see it as a function of time versus, the number of players, right? So, we make the disbursement a little more even, a little more controlled, right? Because that token has a lot more, stakeholders, right? You have the treasury, you have the, investors, you have the team tokens and everything, right? So players earn Chicks tokens in game, via seasons, right? Or via, seasons or, weekly battles and so on based on their MMR. And basically that sort of, keeps the supply and of the token rather stable across time. And then we also have the other one, the shards, right? Basically that is the infinite supply token, where it's sort of the daily feedback, right? Or the per battle feedback for the player, right? Whenever they win, they get sort of rewarded with the shards tokens, right? These shards tokens, have multifunctions, right? Similar to Axie, they can also do breeding, but we're also making them, for example, being used for sort of stuff like, minting NFT equipment or weapons, right? Upgrading certain stats of your SolChicks, improving sort of general ROI in terms of the time spent in the game, right? We are also thinking of implementing a few more in-game currencies, right, such as the soul coins and shards and so on, just to make the game a little less sort of pay to win, and a lot more, just allowing players to sort of maximize their user time, right, depending on their commitment to the game, right? For example, you can use these soul coins to purchase consumables, right, which can sort of aid you, during the battle, right? Or you can, once in a while, the rare item that spawns in the in-game shop, you can use shards and soul coins and so on to sort of purchase these rare items. And in terms of NFTs, we are also thinking of sort of modes such as the hardcore mode, or the degen arena mode, if you can call that players can wage their NFTs or wage shards, or wage certain things, right? That for permanent asset destruction, and then sort of the winner of that will sort of gain some new sort of equipment or new prestige and so on. So that sort of keeps the supply and demand for the multiple types of economies within the game, right? You have the chicks economy, you have the shards economy, you have the NFT economy in terms of both the SolChicks and also the equipment and so on. Kind of keeps the supply and the demand, right, the sources and users pretty much in balance, right? So that's something we're trying to work on.
And I mean, and then more generally, we're trying to take parts of the system, right? So with Axie, you have the guilds that kind of sit very outside of that, and there's a whole set of issues, right, around how custody of NFTs is managed, right? Where we're looking to find ways to kind of solve that and integrate solutions for that into the game. And so you have, we're certainly partnering with guilds and have some of the biggest guilds as investors and partners with us, but also to make the system a bit more frictionless in terms of being able to match up players within our own kind of lobby system, right? And being able to allow anyone to be able to kind of put up their SolChick NFT to kind of call it rent out for other players to play who maybe don't have the upfront money to be purchasing the NFTs in the first instance.
Are you eventually going to move to a free to play type of game, or do you think it's always something where you're going to have a larger investment up front as a player? That's one of the things I wonder with Axie. Is that something that is going to be mainstreamable with players?
I mean at the end of the day, it's about the underlying utility of the game, right? And so if all of your players are literally only there to effectively yield farm, then you've built a giant Ponzi scheme, basically. But to the extent that you create a game with entertainment value that people will play standalone and people will invest into, you create a much more sustainable system. So if you think of the traditional game studio model, where the studio captures all of the value in the system, and as a player you're putting money in, but and your time in, and you all you get out, I say all you get out, is kind of the entertainment value of that. It's a fun way to spend your time and money. Whereas what you can do in crypto now with blockchain integration, right, is that you put money in and you put your time in, but you as a player, as part of the community, are actually sharing in the value creation as well. And so you can you put money in, you can take money out of the system, you can basically monetize your skill and your time in a way that is not easily done or allowed in other games. And so by creating this system of play, you basically create something that becomes a lot more sustainable. And so it's a shift from a kind of one-way flow of monetary value from players to the companies to this much more circular economy where people are coming in, going out, and provided you have that strong playability that makes people want to play for the sake of it, people are less of a zero-sum game.
Yeah, I think that's what some of the detractors really don't understand, is that there's I hear sometimes, when I announce it on YouTube, right, I'm working on Fractal, people are like, oh, NFTs and games is a scam, there's some people who said that. And I think what the detractors don't understand is people already value and are putting in their work and money into these systems, Counter-Strike, CSGO, or something like that, or skins, or Fortnite. People put in huge, billions of dollars into these systems, but they have no they don't get anything. I mean, they get fun, right, which is great.
Yeah.
But they don't accrue any like long-term value from that. And then people create like there's, like I had funded this company, I remember, that was like building like a skins trading marketplace or whatever. But it was all like hacked on top of Counter-Strike, right? They had like a bot that would come and like trade you and escrow the stuff or whatever. It had to pretend to be a user, right? There's no API. And so, people want like a real economy when they're investing so much of their life into some of these games. And I think by creating a blockchain based game where a lot of the utility of these, the stuff and characters that you have in the game are in a blockchain, you're just being honest about like, hey, you have this, you have this ongoing value that you get to keep and earn and like own.
Yeah, it's funny, right? It's like, on the one hand, the players have shown themselves that this is what they want by, trying to hack it together themselves. But on the other hand, there is a lot of skepticism in the kind of gaming community around crypto and NFTs. And I think part of that is because the relationship with the big game companies has often been quite exploitative. And so, people kind of see these companies, particularly the ones that are kind of starting to dip their toes in the water with NFTs, and think, oh, this is just a new way to exploit us.
Yeah.
Right? They see anything, anything new, and potentially, the way that it is being done is maybe a little disingenuous with those companies. Whereas for the kind of crypto native companies who are starting from, it's a very different mindset and very different economic model. We're not at risk of like disrupting this, kind of gravy train of existing profit pools. We're building something that is all about sharing value with the community, and so that's why we've got such a passionate kind of existing community user base who are, part of the journey. They're like invested in us, right? In a way that I think is going to be very hard for the existing studios to kind of change tack on.
Yeah, I think that I actually 100% agree with you. And I was talking with a friend of mine who's the CEO of like a over $10 billion gaming company. And he was like, okay, tell me about these NFT things. And I'm like, look, if you should explore doing something, but you need to do it with the ethos of building in public and building with the community and allowing the community to share in the value creation. Otherwise, people are going to like destroy you. Like they're going to be like, this is bullshit, right? And so like you have a huge potential because they know about making amazing, super fun games. They have a track record of that, but it's like a mindset shift. And I think there's a huge innovator's dilemma there that I was like, what I think is going to happen is some people are going to leave your company and then go start this company and this new blockchain game company. So you should figure out how to do it as an incubation internally or something where it's a new team, they have the mandate where they can kind of share the value creation with the community. We'll see. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen for them, but like that was how I was
they've got these
advising
amazing machines, right? That it's like they make these incredible games, but they've also made this incredible profit maximizing system as well.
Yeah.
You're trying to tell them to change the profit maximizing system whilst keeping the game part, which is it's a hard mindset, and I'm sure at like the boardroom level it's like a tough sell as well. It's like, oh, what do you mean we're giving some of the money back to the community? Why would we do that?
Yeah. Well, so any challenges with being in the space so far, like anything that's been difficult?
I think, as you know, like building anything new has its challenges. We've had our hacks, and we've had our tech hiccups. When we launched our listing and our kind of IDO, we sort of brought down the Solana network for a few hours, and it's these kind of teething issues that I think you work through, right, and it kind of makes you stronger as a project. But you get tested, right, and you learn how to deal with things. And I think particularly when you're still kind of in that launch stage, it's like everyone's very sensitive to every little thing, and so I think I see it all as, as learning opportunities, right?
I think I was telling you that before the call. We were talking about it, but like in the early days of Twitch, like everything broke all the time, and I was always freaking out about it. But that's just like par for the course with starting anything new, building any new technology.
Yeah, and I mean our community is generally pretty forgiving. I mean, you always get your haters, and you always get your fudders, but I think most people get it. Like you're building something from nothing, and you're working a few things out as you go.
Awesome, guys. Well, that was all the questions I have. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share with anyone who's like out there kind of learning about SolChicks?
Ben, do you want to take that one? I've got a crying
No
baby
problem,
in the
no problem, no
background.
problem. No, I think SolChicks is definitely super exciting. I mean, we're spending a lot of time, just thinking through sort of, because this is all new, just thinking through, adding in the whole, tokenomics to a game that is, has some complicated systems, RPG systems, and sort of trying to make it work, and stable, and make it work for all the stakeholders. So, definitely keep looking, at our social media, keep following us, and then, we'll share updates and so on, especially also, something exciting, we're working, with the new Fractal NFTs as well.
Amazing. Yes. Thank you so much. I'm excited to see that play out. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll talk soon.